Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we turn to finally talking about one of the most woke and pro-feminist shows on television today. I'm of course talking about Supergirl. Now this show has actually flown under our radar here for about 5 seasons now. So before we get to the news story coming out this week, and believe me, this one's going to be a doozy, but first, let's talk about the show in general and how we got to where we are this week. Supergirl is an American superhero show based on the DC comic book character, originally created for CBS back in 2015. Since then, the show has been moved to the lower tiered CW network, probably because it floundered on a major network and the producers realized this show wasn't for general audiences. Really, Supergirl fits in better with the CW anyway. That is where the original DC TV shows began, like Arrow and The Flash before it, and later, of course, there's the now infamous Batwoman show that came out last year, to lackluster results I might add, and since we talked about that terribly woke shit show of a show called Batwoman a lot in a couple other videos. Well, considering that, let's go ahead and stay focused on Supergirl for today. And actually, in reality, Supergirl is a pretty clear predecessor to Batwoman when you think about it. Supergirl was the original female-led DC show, and it also started off heavily using woke politics, like making their Supergirl character this progressive, feminist-like person. And, of course, the other noteworthy similarity between these two woke DC shows is they're both just girl versions of more popular male heroes. Supergirl is from Superman and Batwoman is from Batman, naturally. And to make this knockoff thing even worse, for Supergirl in particular, well, her whole show is just a girl version of Superman almost in every detail. There's really nothing original or even different about Supergirl and the real Supes when you actually think about it fully. For example, both are aliens whose parents sent them to Earth as their planet Krypton exploded, and both discovered they had similar powers like flight, super strength, and invulnerability. Then both heroes go on to wear the same signature Superman suits with bright red and blue colors and an S on the chest and everything. Then to make matters even worse for Supergirl in her show, well, in it, she also decides to become a reporter, believe it or not, just like her male counterpart Clark Kent. And in addition, Supergirl even faces and mingles with many of the same typical Superman characters like his regular challenger Lex Luthor, or Superman's sort of sidekick Jimmy Olsen, who all appear in the Supergirl show as well. Yes, and not to get sidetracked too much, but I do think it's worth pointing out these similarities since Supergirl and the CW are clearly trying to get so woke and progressive with this show, but still, at the same time, they're afraid to vary away from the classic Superman premise very much at all. In fact, the only difference I can really see is this super person wears a skirt, and she has nice blonde hair. In fact, to be fair here, I do have to give props to Supergirl for actually casting a hot chick who seems pretty likable too. Seems like Supergirl made it just under the wire by coming out in 2015, because had it come out 1 or 2 years later, post 2016, and SJWs will hardly let you cast pretty girls anymore, instead opting to have boyish, manly, lesbian-looking females like the cast they chose for the Batwoman show. Now with that background out of the way, we can see what we're dealing with more in the present now. Supergirl is a 5-season running pro-feminist lady reboot of a beloved male superhero character and storyline. It's a story and premise that's been done a million times, and the only variance here is that it's a girl now, and she's also of course pro-feminist and woke as well. This has come through in her scripts and storylines for a while now too, culminating in what we're talking about today. This week, I've got 2 pretty telling Supergirl stories, which are introducing a number of elements that show this series is sort of trying to jump the shark this year, at least in terms of being woke. For example, a new article from the Gay Times has more details. It's called Dreamer to Battle Transphobic Villain in Upcoming Supergirl Episode. Okay, wow, that's already a lot to wrap my head around. First, I gotta figure out who this Dreamer girl even is and why she's wearing this silly bright colored mask and outfit that looks like it's from 2002, and then I'll have to take some time deciding how I feel about an alphabet-phobic villain, as they're suggesting. I mean, maybe if we were talking about a reality-based TV show, I could see some sort of regular bad guy or villain hating on alphabet people. And sure, this can happen in a fantastic DC universe too, but it just seems silly all things considered. I mean, in their world, they have aliens flying around, punching through buildings and saving people and stuff. Their villains are out of this world too, and they're superpowered beings as well, usually transformed by some failed science experiment or something. And well, the point is, would this kind of elevated theater and premise really be that concerned about alphabet people after all that? Because I think some gay people cross-dressing is the least of your concerns when your city is getting almost blown up by monsters week after week. Regardless though, let's read on here then and see where the story goes. Supergirl said trans rights. Supergirl is about to introduce a transphobic villain. In the upcoming season 5 episode Reality Bites, Nia Nall, played by Nicole Maines, who goes by the superhero moniker Dreamer, will be targeted by a man who wants her to quit being a superhero because she is transgender. The synopsis reads, Dreamer steps up to protect her community after her roommate is viciously attacked. Nia's roommate, Yvette, played by Roxy Wood, is attacked by a man targeting Dreamer because he doesn't like that Dreamer is transgender. Determined to protect her community from additional harm, Dreamer refuses to give in to his threats and puts herself in the line of fire to stop him. Supergirl, played by Melissa Benoist, stands by Dreamer and enlists additional help from Brainy, played by Jesse Rath. Yikes. Can't say this is a storyline I'd be interested in watching, and as I stated previously, I'm still confused as hell and not buying this whole anti-alphabet villain angle. I'm sure the actual episode will try and spell this out a little bit better, but at first glance, it's not making much sense to me at all. I mean, first of all, this Dreamer hero they're saying is getting attacked for being T. Well, I'll have to admit here, they're pretty much one of the most female-passing Ts I've ever seen. Not to say this because I'm crushing or anything, but it does make their T-phobic villain premise a bit more confusing. I mean, how could this villain even know that Dreamer was a T to begin with? And why do these T people who have clearly completed their so-called transitions, well, why do they still claim T status and want victim points? And they make this identity such an integral part of their personality and presence publicly. And well, despite the Supergirl show playing into that in a positive way for ratings, I still think we're looking over a bigger issue here. People like this Dreamer character and their actor, they're claiming alphabet status to get attention for themselves and their projects, which isn't the good kind of attention you should be getting, which should be coming from your talent and skill and the quality of your product. And this whole Dreamer character and the now catered to villain they've created for her, well, they wouldn't even be a thing if it weren't for the show trying to pander to woke leftists so much. In fact, the actress behind the Dreamer character proves this even further if you just look into their background just a little bit. Nicole Amber Maines is their name, and she's an American actress / alphabet rights activist. And actually, Nicole took their pro-T activism so far, they became an anonymous plaintiff in a Maine state Supreme Court case, where Dreamer here basically complained about not being able to use their preferred bathroom. And surprise, surprise, after getting attention from winning that alphabet bathroom court case, well, Nicole then went on to become an actress. And then the Dreamer actress here isn't just your average attention seeker either. No, she's an alphabet actress seeking special attention and treatment because they decided to wear dresses instead of pants a few years ago. And well, in today's pro-SJW climate, this strategy actually works. And Nicole's pro-T acting career began getting her parts on shows like Royal Pains and now a supporting role as the world's first alphabet superhero on the Supergirl show on the CW. Dreamer made history last year as the first ever transgender superhero on television. Maines said the character has this ferocious drive to protect people and to fight against discrimination and hatred. She's the superhero we need right now. Reality Bites will air March 15th on the CW. Here's hoping that homophobic trash gets his ass whooped. Since the series premiered in 2015, it's received highly positive reviews, with particular praise aimed at former Grey's Anatomy star Chyler Lee, it's a weird name, for her portrayal of lesbian character Alex Danvers, Supergirl's adoptive sister. Supergirl was recently renewed for a 6th season, which will premiere later this year. So, Supergirl has a T sidekick and an L sister too? Better give her a G best friend and a B coworker or something as well. I mean, we do need to get all the special letter people into this woke shit show, right? But really, should we even be surprised that this shit is coming from a CW show at this point? Not that it's completely their fault either. I mean, who could blame them for trying to get free publicity and attention for their show? As long as the liberal mainstream media and these pro-alphabet websites like the Gay Times here, well, as long as they keep commending and propping up this woke pandering, companies like the ones behind Supergirl are going to go along with that and capitalize on this trend. Then they give the alphabet people a character on their show and the press gives them positive articles, promotions, and they funnel people to their stream streaming services and everything. It's a very incestuous, very woke circling system that's clearly paying off for them somewhere down the line. I mean, Supergirl is starting its 6th season this fall. Wow. So obviously someone is watching and enjoying this stuff, so good for them. It's not for me, but it never was supposed to be. And I would normally let these kind of things just go, as I have for this show for a while, but they have gotten so progressive and pro-social justice warrior, not to mention, since they're also shitting all over good source material, well now I had to speak up, because if you think about it, if Supergirl was called something else like Mighty Gal, and she had a backstory at least slightly different than Clark Kent and Superman, well, first of all, no one would be watching or caring about that show, because the only reason people are watching Supergirl is because they like Superman and Batman and the Justice League and DC Comics. And that's why the studios think everything has to be so derivative these days, at least according to the masses and Hollywood types. But secondly, if they named this show something different, their creative choices wouldn't be so offensive, since they were outside the realms of already established and well-liked universes within DC Comics. And combine that problem with this liberal propaganda pushing, and well, of course, I had to say something at this point. Speaking of which, we got one more Supergirl related story to go over before we wrap up, and it falls into some of the same traps as this one before. This one comes from Decider.com, and it's called Supergirl's 100th episode was great, but Kara and Lena should have kissed. Oh, really? So you say. I guess half the show being alphabet people wasn't enough for him, and the pro-feminist anti-male pushing didn't suffice either, so now we have to make the main characters lesbian lovers. I guess this goes to show it's really never enough for SJW types like this, and also it really shows how entitled and sex-obsessed the people watching these kinds of woke shows are. Regardless, let's give them a chance and read on here, and see why they think these chicks should have kissed in this episode. And to be fair, I wouldn't mind seeing these girls kiss either, looking at them in this picture, and I could see why it might excite some viewers, if you know what I mean, but I'm sure this article is going to make this more about being pro-alphabet and less about being a straight male fantasy. When a TV show reaches 100 episodes, it's always a time for celebration. You take a look through the history of the series, bring back some old faces, budget and schedules allowing, and set up the show for another 100. The CW's long-running Supergirl was no different, with the funny, sweet, and sometimes sad look through multiple alternate realities and branching timelines in this week's It's a Super Life. Only downside, they really should have let Kara Danvers and Lena Luthor kiss. Spoilers for Supergirl Season 5, Episode 13, It's a Super Life past this point. The emotional crux of the episode is the ongoing feud between Lena and Kara, similar names. Though there have been crises to deal with and multiple threats to National City as well as the Earth, the most devastating through line in Season 5 has been the duo's crumbling friendship. It all pivots on Kara not having revealed her secret. She's Supergirl, before Lena's brother Lex could tell his sister. Lena's always had serious trust issues, and her closest friend keeping such an important part of their life away from her felt and feels like the ultimate betrayal. Now, you see what I was saying about this thing being a Superman clone? Instead of coming up with another main antagonist, Supergirl just bumps up against Lex Luthor, the same villain Superman has feuded with since forever. And sure, Supergirl has this twist of having her be a friend of Lena Luthor, Lex's sister, but to me that's just them making another girl version of a previously male comic book character. Lena Luthor is the girl version of Lex. And in addition, we got this suggestion that the two girls should and must kiss. And now I can't even. Why would they kiss? Only answer really is because the people writing this garbage are pro-alphabet SJWs, who need to see the representation in everything or else. Because really, if the two characters are straight girls and longtime friends, they wouldn't be kissing like this out of nowhere. But apparently that is a new strategy of DC Comics, so maybe the suggestion isn't that far out of left field. DC does look at their female characters and say, hey, they should be gay now for no reason other than to pander to woke leftists. They did this with Harley Quinn recently in a comic or TV show, and it was equally as cringy as you might think. Thankfully, Supergirl didn't go there yet, but who knows? And as for this suggestion, one day they very well could do this, because they're all about spreading this pro-alphabet propaganda apparently, and pandering to leftists, and it surely looks like their politics are trumping their will to make a good story that's actually unique and different and fun to watch. What do you guys think? Is Supergirl's wokeness off the charts now, or was it always this woke to begin with? And what do you think about this new anti-alphabet villain coming out, so to speak, as a pun there? What do you think? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button to help support this channel, and we'll see y'all next time.